I've seen clients all week. It's the saddest thing I've heard all week.
He can't share in the sadness. And there's no point in treating him like there's sadness. If all he gets is what's in front of him and that's all he's going to remember.
It's a very compassionate and like selfless way to view it. If we want to be more compassionate, if we want to care more about other people, the way that we do that is we see someone else's pain, or at least we try to see their pain. Imagine that you want to find out what your purpose is, but you're in this hole that's 20 feet deep, and all you can see is the sun in this deep hole. Okay, so how do I actually then find this higher purpose?
Acting on emotions as guides to truth. Stillness. Surrendering to what is. Seeking. Using my gifts with purpose. Light. This is the emotional blueprint.
Tell me, what's been on your mind, man?
I was like really angry this past week. I've been trying to dig into like where the anger has come from and like why and everything, because it seems like foreign, like it, I don't know. And then I looked in and kind of, there was a couple things that were catalysts to that. Like my little sister came to visit from Rexburg. She's like graduated early and she's in Rexburg doing college her first semester, and she's really struggling like to balance everything and her mental health and stuff. And she struggles with things and we talk through it sometimes, and we just were talking, and I realized how my family has been trying their way of helping her through this stuff, and how much of it is similar to how they treated me going through hard things. She's just a kid, you know, and it's really hard to hear that someone is struggling with like thoughts, you know, of not wanting to be around anymore or not having the energy to keep going, and people are telling her that she needs to just not be lazy and needs to just try harder, push harder. It's too reminiscent of my own teenage years. I feel like that it really struck a chord with me for my sister of just the wrong kind of support that she needs, as far as at least my own opinion. Like that's not the way to do it. That's not hearing her and what she needs. And that kind of set me off. And, you know, my dad has Alzheimer's, and he doesn't believe it. Everybody knows it but him. And getting him to take medications is like pulling teeth. And my mom's working, 48 plus hours trying to keep them afloat. And he doesn't want to sign up for Social Security. He doesn't want to, doesn't want to believe that he's actually losing his ability to do things. And my mom's just running out of energy every day, trying to get him to come her way a little bit and take some medication and help himself. And it's just like, well, you don't need to tell me what to do every day. And it's just a tough situation that I'm finding myself angry for my mom, not being able to.
Angry for her?
Yeah. Like angry about the situation, just like frustrated that she has to be in that situation. She deserves so much more than that. And just along those lines, like I've always felt this way about my siblings. I mean, they don't include me in the group chats that they have about the family, and I almost never get the itinerary of what we're doing for family outings and things. It's just show up or don't, and don't complain about it. And that's how it is towards me. But my little sister started crying while we were at dinner for me about the things that they say about me. She's like, it's just not fair how they talk about you. They think I'm like a loser and a bum in life.
Yeah.
And that hurts. I already kind of know that they think that about me, but just confirmation really set in a lot of like, ooh, that's like, that hurts to hear. Confirmation about that, and just kind of all those things all happened, talking, having those conversations. And it's just been like the past couple weeks, and realizing that like, at first I was confused. I was like, maybe I'm mad from the past. Like maybe this is my old hate that I had just springing back up, and I'm just grabbing on, riding with it. Like I needed to heal more. And I look back and like, it doesn't come from when I was younger. I'm not mad at them for that stuff. I was just angry about the current things that were happening. Cause I had like I had to take a step back. I was like, oh crap. Like, did I just not do my work on myself or something?
Right.
But these are like, I guess it was just recognizing that these are like current situations, not past ones. And I can choose to let that go and affect it today. Like, I don't know. I've been working on that for the past couple of days, trying to understand that anger, where it comes from and why I even have that.
So you mentioned like the anger that you felt kind of for your little sister.
Yeah.
And then some frustration you felt for your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then some hurt that you experienced from your brothers.
Yeah, my brother and sisters.
Which one feels like the heaviest to you right now?
My little sister.
Okay. And so your theory or what you've kind of said is that I feel angry for her, or I'm feeling angry because I'm seeing that she's going through some similar things that I went through, some things that some things that I needed from my parents that I didn't get, and then I'm also seeing that happen with her.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's like a part of my brain that's like, didn't you learn from me? Like all of you guys, like, didn't you figure it out when I went through all of that stuff and you did it wrong and you figured out you did it wrong? Like, how does it not look the same? I'm just so confused with my little sister. Like, how did you not learn your lesson? And maybe it is connected to me then and my own emotions, but it's just like,
no, definitely not. I think you're spot on with like, it just is like a current thing.
right. Okay, cool.
But this is super cool what you're saying. So we should talk for a second about compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So compassion can show up in many forms. It can show up in the form of like, I feel angry for this other person, in this case, your sister. I feel frustrated for my mom because I'm seeing what she has to, how difficult this is with my dad that has Alzheimer's. That's compassion, is what that is, which is pretty cool.
But it's a bad emotion, isn't it?
Compassion?
No, like in the form of anger. Like,
well,
you know?
you have to, what's difficult is you have to like, I'm feeling angry for this other person. It's not, you're not angry yourself for you.
No, it doesn't. I don't care that much about me like that. Like,
so when we have strong feelings for someone else, like anger or frustration or just really bothered, almost, I don't know if bothered, but the two you described are really good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just compassion, man.
Okay.
And this is the benefit of all the work that you've done on yourself. Because here's what's cool. If you didn't do that work, you'd be feeling your own hurt and anger with seeing the stuff happen with your sister and the stuff that's happening with your mom. You'd bring up your own stuff. So you wouldn't have
that's true
compassion. So the pain that you had originally was the whole. Mm-hmm. And now what has replaced it? Compassion.
Well, then I've been feeling a lot of that lately because, man, they are pushing me.
The only exception is like the hurt that you're experiencing because that's your own.
But that was really momentary, though. It was just like, dang, I knew that.
So it wasn't hurt then. It was more of like,
it was confirmation.
Yeah, of what you already knew.
I knew that. It just hurt me really to see how much my little sister was affected by that. She's like, I don't want to hear that stuff, like crying to me, and I'm like, dang, like.
Yeah.
That sucks that you have to be a part of that.
Okay, so this is super cool. So let's talk about compassion. Every emotion means something. It's our body, our spirit trying to tell us something that we should do or something that we need. When we feel compassion, what is our body or what is our spirit trying to tell us?
Maybe that we love that person.
It's evidence that we actually care about whoever we're feeling compassion towards.
Like an empathy type thing, like you're able to feel what other people might be feeling, or
Here's what's cool about compassion is just, I was thinking about this as after you said what you said, is that compassion is an action emotion.
Mhm.
It's your body telling that you should do something, that you need to do something. And that can look like whatever you feel like is appropriate. So we should talk about that specifically with your sister and your mom. But I just want to share this thing because I think it's just such a beautiful realization that you have is like, okay, you have gone through this phase of like doing all this work on finding emotional balance and like doing the deeper work, you know, the second phase of what we've been talking about in the podcast. And then the natural, after we work on ourselves, the natural thing that happens, whether we want it to or not, is this deeper call to give and to act on our compassion and to fulfill our purpose. You know, so it's really cool how naturally that happens. It happens so naturally that you weren't even aware that it was happening. That's what's so cool about it.
When you put it like that, that's been happening so much more often for me the past couple weeks or months, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool to realize.
So cool.
Wow.
What does that look like for your sister, you think?
Oh, I already know. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I need to go surprise her in Rexburg this week. I'm going to just drive up, spend a day with her.
And like probably like share your story.
I did. I mean,
you did. Okay.
We talked. We had a really big heart-to-heart in the car outside of the Bird or whatever in Layton. Like we just sat in the parking lot and just cried together and talked. And something cool to me, I think it's cool, is that my siblings have those opinions and they don't know anything about me. They don't know anything about my story or any experiences that I've had. They don't know because I don't share that stuff. But I did with my little sister, and it's powerful to see her be able to relate to someone in the family for once. She didn't know that she could on those levels with me, and now she sees that. And I feel like we reached a new level of being connected as siblings, and our friendship has like rekindled from when she was just a little kid. Like we talked over some of those memories and things, and just like talked over the, you know, where were you when I was doing this? Like, tell me what happened.
Right.
We just went over that, you know, together, and I feel like we're gonna do more of that when I'm in Rexburg. But she just needs someone right now to care enough to not just text back, but to show up. And it's been a long time coming for me as her older brother. I'm supposed to do that. So
good for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty special. It reminds me of like, what's the one thing that all of us needed growing up, but that very few of us actually got? And that is to like be seen, is to like actually feel seen and like understood.
Yeah.
Like my mom or my dad actually, or my girlfriend, boy, whatever, actually sees me and actually understands me and what I'm feeling. And so what's cool is you didn't necessarily have that in as much as what you needed. And now you're able to kind of help do that for her. It's it's cool, man.
I refuse.
Very special.
I refuse to let her deal with it the way that I had to.
Compassion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is.
Got to be the big brother I didn't have.
There's I love my dad. My dad was always like really he was really there for me at the times that I needed him, like the big moments. Mm-hmm. It was like a flash. He'd be there when it was really dark and I was really, he was there. And so that like always meant a lot to me. Mm-hmm. But the consistency, he just couldn't really be that consistent, and for many reasons, which is fine. It was all meant to go the way it was meant to. But the reason I'm sharing this is because sometimes I have 2 daughters. With my own daughters, I'm like playing with them and I'm like really present. Not always. It's rare, actually. I need to do better. But when I'm really present and I'm like there with them and I'm playing with them and we're like putting blocks together or drawing or whatever. And or I'm talking to my daughter before she goes to bed and we're telling stories and we're laughing. It's like I get these hits sometime where it's like, it's so meaningful to me to just feel like I am being the father that I never had consistently, or the mom or the parent that I never. It's like a glimpse of heaven almost. It's really meaningful. So to get those hits of just like, because we get a lot of hits in negatively, like you're not doing enough, but to really receive and take in these hits of like, to some degree, I'm like being that parent that I never had. Or the boyfriend that I never had, whatever that is.
Yeah. It's like a little piece of heaven or something. It just reminds me like filling the gap in history, like in the family tree, when you fill the gap, almost like a spiritual connection and a thank you comes from the person who made the gap. And you can like feel heaven saying, yes, like you're healing it. You're fixing this family legacy issue.
I totally think what you said is 100% true. It's almost like God or the universe, whatever you believe in, is sending energy or spirit through you into the soul of that other person.
Yep. And just healing it.
Yep. And you're not doing it. You're just a part of it, but it feels so meaningful to be like a part of it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing for your sister.
And your daughters.
Man, I need to get better, but there's been some good moments lately. I love those little girls. One of them doesn't like me very much because I tackle her too much and she's not ready for that. Need to be more gentle. And then any thoughts on your mom? Do you feel like you have that all? Is that kind of clear to you as well? Like, because that's a tough situation. Like we should, and it might be good to talk about Alzheimer's for a second too. But
that is hard to watch, hard to deal with.
Your dad, seeing him decline.
Yep. There's a lot of things about that are hard to accept.
What's been tough? What's been tough about it?
I'm ready to be friends with him, but he can't be friends back now. Not that way. And that's something that's really hard because the timing sucks. But it's not for me to judge, And more than that, I think my heart really breaks for my dad because he hasn't fixed his relationships with my siblings yet. And he's not going to have enough time to do that, I think, the way that things are, at least right now. And I feel for the guy. I do.
It's very sad because you took this great initiative to repair or heal your relationship with him. You went through that process. I remember us talking about that for a while, and you were able to do that. So, dude, it's so sad what you said. Like, and now there's no negative feelings for him anymore. And I was so looking forward to be a good friend with him. And then now he's not capable.
It's not gonna work the way that things are right now. Between him and my mom, I think the only thing I can do is just show them the love they're not getting from my siblings. And with my mom specifically, I am her support. I will not stop telling her to take care of herself, to look out for her, give herself time, forgive herself. Man, my main goal is to just be her little cheerleader for the rest of her life.
So as of right now, do you still have like current sadness, like with your dad? Is that still like
I think it's just always going to be there in some part because he's far away, and I can't just pick up and go and see him. And so that's like, it's kind of tough sometimes to think about. It's like, dang, I can still text, but he doesn't really remember like anything that we're talking about, or like if we talk on the phone, it'll just go off. And honestly, that's fine. Like we talked for 45 minutes, just letting him ramble in circles about stuff, but I really just enjoyed his energy, and like he still is himself in certain areas. He and I can really connect on music, classic rock of the 90s and 80s. And he won't forget any of those songs. And so we can run around in the car and just jam out for a little while. That's something special that we do have. And I want to do that when I'm going to go out there around Thanksgiving. So
Cool.
I plan to spend some quality time with both of them.
So you do still feel sad currently about how things are going for him, and like you said, of wanting to be friends with him, but that him not being capable.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really normal. There's nothing wrong with that. My question is like, do you want to feel sad about the situation with your dad?
No.
Is that helpful for you?
The right answer is that I probably don't need to continue to feel sad. There's just this part of me that's like, man, this is a sad thing. And
it absolutely is a sad thing. It's this, I've seen clients all week. It's the saddest thing I've heard all week. I'm serious.
Ooh.
I'm serious. It's especially what's so sad to me is how good friends we are,
mm-hmm.
and how I know how much that means to you. And it's like this huge loss. Like you're losing. Yeah. You've always wanted to be good friends with your dad, and you're 20. How old are you?
30. 30 now.
30?
Yeah.
At the ripe age of 30.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm ready, Dad. And he has Alzheimer's.
It's almost really easy to see why it's not going to serve me, because he can't share in the sadness. And there's no point in treating him like there's sadness like that. If all he gets is what's in front of him and that's all he's going to remember for that moment, then all he deserves is goodness, because it's all he can remember. And I think of it as like, why not just fill all of those little spaces with something fun or uplifting or like something, you know?
It's a very compassionate and like selfless way to view it, which is the truth. Like it makes sense what you're saying. Just saying it's very selfless. And I mean, it just goes to how selfless and compassionate you are. I ask like, is it good for you to feel sadness? And you're like, well, it's not that good for my dad because it's so cool how you think of him first. But like, what about you? I think people will look at they look at situations like this in their life that are like clearly and like obviously sad. It's not a question of like whether it's sad or not, because this is very sad. It's like, is this helping me in my life or not? If it is, cool. Like let it be there and let it like help you. But if it's not, if we can be very honest about, is it helping you or is it not? If it's not, then let's listen to what the sadness is trying to tell you. And then let's do something with it so that you can show up, it sounds like, the way you want to for your dad. And that you can also use this to help you move forward. I don't know if move forward is the right word, but just to,
come at it more healthy
in your own life.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know like what the sadness is trying to tell me. I know what it's telling me not. Like, I don't know. It's like the feelings that I get when I've thought about this, because we talked about this a little while ago, and I spent a couple days like, what the heck? Like, I need to think through this. And all that I really came to terms with was like, the sadness will hinder the time I have left
with your dad. So you know that's true, which totally makes sense. Okay, so let me throw this out there, and then you tell me what you think. So I totally think that's true about your dad. So sadness is our body telling us that we are experiencing a loss of hope. We were just talking a week ago about just kind of where you're at and kind of what's, we're just hanging out as friends talking. And you were talking about how, it's been a little difficult to just kind of like do some of the things you need to and, get a job and start, because you just moved here. And so it's just starting to get things rolling in your life so that you can be where you want to be. So sadness is a pretty heavy emotion. And if it means a loss of hope, it's like trying to hike up a mountain with like a 120-pound backpack. And it sucks because we have this heavy weight on, and other people are just cruising by, just like, what the heck? Like, they're making it to the top, like, yo, like,
he's 65. Are you kidding me? Just like,
yeah.
yeah, dude.
And then it can affect our self-doubt. It can affect many things without getting too crazy with the visual, but it's a weight. And this weight affects our ability to build the life that we want to build. And so sadness is really helpful when it happens, when we find out about a loss. It's so important to feel it and embrace it. But it is meant to turn into hope and something beautiful. Just like your pain has turned into compassion, this sadness with your dad is meant to turn into something really cool. And we should, if you're open to that, we should talk about that right now.
Absolutely. I already know that I have a loss of hope about that. It's evident.
Well, who wouldn't?
Yeah. I mean, well,
like Alzheimer's only gets worse.
Exactly.
So it's not like we can have this friendship while he's alive. Like, who wouldn't feel pretty sad about it, you know?
So what is the truth about the future with my dad?
So hope is, and you kind of just said it, hope is hope always has to start with a question. What question could I ask nature or God or the universe? What question can I ask that if I get an answer to is really going to help me feel a lot better about this situation with my dad?
Will there be time? It's such a tough one to answer because it's not the answer that I want.
Well, initially, what you said that was so sad to you is like, I'm ready to have this friendship with my dad, but he can't. Like, how is this fair?
Yeah, so it's like, will there be time before or after to still be friends? And the answer is like a resounding yes. But it's like a yes, but probably after. And that's not fun to hear.
You know, the right question is whatever you feel like is the right question. But as we're talking about it, a really good question could be exactly what you just said, which is like, am I going to have this good friendship with my dad? That's what I'm losing. Am I going to have this? I've always wanted a good friendship with my dad. Am I going to have it? You cannot answer this question, and nor can I. Nobody can answer this question, and you can't answer this question yourself intellectually. Because hope is not an intellectual pursuit. Hope is feeling the truth of something that we can't currently see. So, okay, cool. So who has the keys to giving you a glimpse of what your future is actually going to look like with your dad, whether in this life or, you know, if you believe in life after you die. Mm-hmm. It's like God, nature, universe. They're the only ones that have a foreknowledge of what is going to happen in your own life.
Yeah.
You know, we could just call it God for now. And he loves that. He knows that he's the only one that has the hope that you need. And he's the only one that can give it to you. So we can't just sit here and talk about this and like come up with some answer. It's going to be,
I got some homework to do.
Nature, God is going to be offended. Mm-hmm. He's going to like, don't even try. So we're not. But I really believe that not only is this going to be better for your dad, but this is going to give you this, if you find this hope, this heavy weight is going to leave you, and you will be able to hike up that mountain with a lightness of foot And you'll be soaked. You'll be happy. And this will translate and you'll find a job really quick. You'll just do things and it won't take as much effort. Like right now, it's like, you might have had some questions like, why am I just like dragging my feet on some things? Like I want those things. But why? It's like, it's because of that heavy weight.
Freaking sad.
I'm freaking sad.
I get it now. That makes so much sense. Because last time we talked about it, I was like, as far as I got was like, yeah, I'm sad and I need to feel this. It's going to take me somewhere. And I felt like it took me somewhere, but I didn't realize that what it was. If I would have realized that it was a loss of hope from that sadness, then I could have, I need to think, thank you. I need to think through that more.
Dude, you're so in tune and you're so like, you've done the hardest part of all this, which is like all the emotional work and the balance and it doesn't hurt that you're Japanese. You just have an extra connection with everything. But in all seriousness, yeah, man, it's like, it's not going to take much. 5 minute for you, like a 5 minute, like asking the right question. And this is the theme of the podcast that's been emerging so far is like really, and you already know this, I guess I'm just saying this for the audience, is like really being still, taking the time, being intentional. Spiritual experiences and hope never happens. I wouldn't say never happens on accident, but rarely does. We got to seek it. We got to go for it. Be still. Ask the question. One of the best ways that helps me to be still, to have a meaningful experience, is I'm a big fan of visualizing. So like I'm asking this question, and I'm not just asking it. I'm really envisioning like the river that I'm sitting next to, or God is standing next to me, and it's a conversation, and he's really there. Or the river or the tree can really, I believe nature is all secondary from the higher source, which I call God. And so, but we can get answers through nature and obviously God. So bring it to life.
Make it real.
Make it real. That's the best way to say it. Just make it real. Like we and you are talking right now, it's very real. And spiritual things or things that we can't see can be just as real. The only difference is we can't physically see them, but that's overrated. Yeah. So overrated. It's all about what we feel, not all about, but it's the internal. And, just one thought on that, maybe that I think would be good for, some people that might be listening is that kind of the question that comes up as we're talking about this is like, well, how do I know if an experience I'm having is a spiritual experience or if it's coming from God versus it's just my own doing? And there's two ways that you can tell if it's coming from a higher plane. The first is positive emotions. If there's any positive emotions like peace, calm, feeling good, we cannot manufacture those. Those only arrive on the scene when something is actually good and true, period. Okay, so if those show up when I'm visualizing or doing this experience, it's like, that's the truth.
Bingo.
I'm actually going to have, you're going to have your own experience, but I'm actually going to have this deep, I believe this is true for you, by the way. I'm actually going to have this deep and meaningful relationship with my dad that is going to be better than I ever imagined. I might be able to get glimpses of it while I'm still alive with him, but the bulk of that most likely will come after. And a visual that I don't know where I heard this, but it's always stuck with me about how, like, imagine that you go to the top of the Empire State Building. And you've probably heard this perhaps, but you go to the top of the Empire State Building and you have a ball of yarn and you tie a knot in that ball of yarn and then you throw it off the Empire State Building and it unravels and rolls down. That knot represents our time here on earth. and how long that yarn is before and after represents our time before we came out of the womb, and then our time after. So it's just the more I talk about this stuff and help and learn about my own things, and I talk with people, I'm like, just this perspective of like, we are constantly putting way too much value on this life. It's so important, but it's just such a small period of time. Like, obviously we can't really comprehend that because
it's so hard to comprehend.
You can't see it when you're in it.
Yeah.
But it's the importance of having a consistent spiritual practice. Because you spend time in nature, if going to church is your thing, praying, meditating, if you're really sincere about any spiritual practice, what will emerge from that is this reminder of the importance of your life now, but how small that is in the space.
The big picture.
Totally.
Like eternal perspective type thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I know what you mean.
Your homework, sir. We'll probably be me and you on the next one. I want to hear about your story, and I think the listeners do. So yeah, take the time, and it'll be cool to see what happens and what comes up for you, and like the details of your experience. Yeah. It's going to be powerful. I mean, obviously we're close friends, and like the biggest thing that like comes up for me when I think of that for you is like just not being weighed down. Cause I think you've like questioned yourself quite a bit. Like why can't I do these things with more ease? Like it seems easier for other people. And what's sad, it's a weight that most people think that they need to hang on to. The sadness, this situation is very sad. I need to hang on to the sadness because if I don't, then I'll like forget about my dad's suffering. Or if I don't hang on to the sadness, then I'll forget about this person. Or if whatever the belief is fine. There's no judgment there. But we're not meant to hold on to sadness. It's meant to turn into a gift. And some people want to hang on to it, and that's fine. There's, you do whatever you want to do. But my message is that sadness is hiking in the dark and not kind of knowing. And who wouldn't want the sun to come up at some point and to see? It's
just like you said, like I felt the weight. I just didn't know where it was coming from. I just didn't know, like, that's where the self-doubt was, is like, am I just weighed down with this? Like, is this just weak? It's so much nicer now to know at least where some of the sadness
where
is
it's coming from. Yeah.
Now I can take action.
Well, it's just so interesting because it's like, as I see this so much, man, like how much people, it was almost, I had to be very sensitive when I was kind of talking to you about it. Cause people are very sensitive about sadness, which makes sense. But some people are so sensitive about it. They have this strong belief that's like, it needs to stay there. It's supposed to stay there. Mm-hmm. What's sad is that they feel that way, and I've gotten the most pushback. I'm really careful about bringing that up, but I was talking to Kimberly about that. We went to lunch, and she came to lunch and she was sad. I said, hey, like, that's meant to, like, I think I said, like, that's meant to go away. She's like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Anyways, but a better way to say it's meant to turn into something beautiful, like the lotus flower. Yeah. So there's two ways that we can know if something is coming from a higher plane. The first is like these positive emotions, like peace, love. Mm-hmm. And then the second way we can tell is if we are very still, if we know that we're in a very still space and that we're not distracted and we're intentional, then whatever emerges when we seek in that space is not coming from, in Buddhism, it's not coming from our physical brain. It's coming from our pure brain, which is our spirit.
So you like create a vacuum of thought where there is no thought.
Yep.
So that something can show up and you can see it clearly.
And this originates from your ancestors, man. They've taught the world that it's originated from them.
They're dialed in on this practice.
Oh, dude, Japanese and Chinese, and this is where all this beautiful knowledge came from about stillness, and Christ talked about it, and almost any spiritual teacher talks about it. So I'm just stoked for you, man. Excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
Anything else, man, that's been kind of weighing on you that could be cool to talk about?
We talked about before, like you got your emotional balance, you've got your deeper work, and then you've got your purpose and your understanding. Where is that going to take me? What am I supposed to do? And I feel like I'm still I'm still trying to figure out
your purpose.
Something about that. It's like the feeling is like, who you are, go do it. And it's like, what does that look like? Does that look like a blue collar job? Is that a job in an office space? Is that like, what does that look like? Is that, I keep asking, and it's just like,
not getting much.
It's just like, you got it. Go do it. Be more. And it's like, what is that?
Right. So basically the question is like, how could letting go of some of this sadness, how could this be connected to giving you more clarity about what your purpose is?
They're both about the future.
Sure.
I think that any kind of pain or lack of hope means lack of vision, lack of some sort of eyesight or spiritual eyes or whatever to see or to hear what you need to. And so if I could clear up some of that fog, that might help me see or receive an answer for that pretty easily, or easier, if I didn't have that stuff in the way.
What I'm about to say, people have such a difficult time. I almost stopped saying this because you have to go through it to know that it's true. And the truth for sure is this, is all pain is internal fog. So it affects us being able to see what we want to see or what we need to see. You want to see more clearly what your purpose is. All pain is internal fog. So God might be up there being like, homie, I want to tell you,
clear some
but
I
have to honor the law of emotion. I have to honor the law of nature.
Yeah.
I'm bound to that. Like I can't just technically you can do whatever, but he's pretty consistent.
Typically not one to make exceptions to his own rules.
And nature doesn't make exceptions to their own rules. A tree can't just get up when the winter is coming and be like, this sucks. I don't want to lose all my leaves. I don't want to wonder if I'm going to actually survive through this harsh time. Like, I'm out of here later, dude.
Pulls its roots up and just
I'm going to
out.
Arizona.
Yeah.
No, dude, it just stays still and it waits. And we don't have, I think the parallel to that is you don't have to wait. You just, you address the sadness that you need to, and then you just give it a little bit, and then and then I've been trying to tell you what your purpose is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I love you, and I've always just wanted to be a part of your story. And for me, I believe that we are, but it's for you to just have clarity with what's your own purpose is and how that. Yeah, it's just going to be awesome. Then you cannot be stopped.
That's what I keep saying. I'm like, seriously, if you would just tell me, I promise, dude, I would go nuts for you. Like I would be working like crazy.
You can't be stopped.
Just saying that, but
that might be a bold thing to say, but it's like you've got a glimpse of what your future is, this vision, and it's real. You actually know that it's like going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like it just, I wouldn't say you can't be stopped, but it just gives you so much juice. You just like your zeal, like in your energy that you bring into your relationships and your day. There's nothing like it.
I need that for the whole rest of my life, like all the categories, I mean, in my life.
Right.
I need that.
Yep.
And
we just show up so different.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's like you're still showing up great.
But there's always, I can feel that there's way more that I could be doing or feeling or having or doing, you know, like all this stuff. And it's just like, you got to do I really feel like God needs me to figure this process out. And that's why he's got his hands completely out, letting me just wrestle around with this stuff and figure it out. Like that's a big feeling that I have. And I'm like, all right, if you want me to struggle a little, I'll struggle. Like try not to be human about it and just like be grateful for the journey and trying to keep a good outlook on it.
You're about to become a samurai.
I'm ready.
Seriously though.
Gotta learn the skills.
Seriously though.
Make a sword. But other than that, I've really been feeling so good in so many other areas. Like with Ashlyn, our relationship is just like, it's really good. We were talking about this a couple days ago, but like the big thing for her, like there was this missing piece. She's like, I felt there was something missing and you felt there was something missing. And what was it? Because it feels different now. And I was like, God, you didn't know who God was to you yet. And now you know. And there's this huge foundation and this strength that comes to her now about how she deals with her family or with problems. And it's just been like these floodgates opening up for her to where now all these things are changing. And it's so cool to see that those things are making such an impact in her identity and how she looks at herself, how she looks at others. And man, it's made our relationship so cool.
Well, it's powerful what you're saying, because like we were talking about earlier, what most of us needed but didn't get was just to feel seen and just to feel like someone has our back and to feel understood. And if we didn't have that, like to feel like the universe or the way of life or God like has my back and is there for me, I can rely on the information or the revelation I'm getting from nature. I can rely on the impressions I'm getting from God. Like I know that there's somebody that's there for me. No one can do that alone. It's all it's all fake if somebody thinks they can. I'm strong enough, just me.
Oof, be careful with that.
Wow.
Say that
later
10 times and good luck. Yeah.
And the tree will fall over on your Porsche.
Lightning
on your Porsche.
Strikes.
And the river will run through your multi-million-dollar house.
Like that kind of stuff. I've seen some really cool just improvements with relationships.
So cool, man.
All that stuff, that we talked about last week with like any kind of a void that's left by your mom or your parent or whatever, it's your mom. But like I've tried to take inventory on our relationship, me and my mom, and how that's affected me positively. It just feels so cool to have no judgment from my mom. I don't know what that's, other than just making me feel super good about myself, knowing that my mom and I are in a good place and she sees me for who I am, and that stuff just matters. I don't know, like I don't know what the void was, but like there must have been one, because I feel a lot better just in general, just knowing that my mom sees me and like I'm not a monster or like a loser or anything to my mom anymore. She's just
right. Let's talk about that for a second, because it's come up a couple times. I just think it's such a good principle. Like we talked about how the void, this emotional void that is left there from our parents if they weren't emotionally supportive of us when we were growing up. And when we heal from that, when we go through the steps of like feeling that and doing the reflection we need to do, and then like addressing it with them in a loving way, when we go through that process, it's better to not necessarily view it as a void, because the void is now gone. It is like there's no void there anymore. It's like removed. And so it's almost better in that case to view it as like an open wound that's like stitched up, and there's no pain there anymore. So it's all so I had this experience with my dad the other day where we're watching a football game, and he's getting all anxious because his team's losing, and he's irritable and like, I'm like making these side commentary that I'm like, it's just, I don't know, whatever. And he like snapped at me so hard, not so hard, but it was pretty hard. And in the moment, I was just, I honestly thought it was funny. And 3 days pass, and he's like, hey, your stepmom told me that like I was really rude, like I'm sorry, and da 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 da. You know, he's like, called me 3 times. The first 2 times I didn't answer, and then the 3rd time I answered. I'm like, what's up? What's up, man? And he was like, oh, he's really sorry about it and whatever. But anyways, my point in sharing this is that what healing from this parent wound does is it truly creates neutrality. You're neutral. You still love and honor your parents and the sacrifice they made, like, but they can't hurt you anymore. And no one can. Actually, no one has that power anymore. When that wound is there, it gets bumped a little bit. Oh, someone says it, and you hurt me. You were being an a-hole, whatever.
Yeah.
Just people can still hurt us. I maybe should say that, but like we have the power to. There's nothing deeper there, and so I think that's like the piece that you've been kind of sulking in. That
neutrality. That's exactly
neutral.
What it is.
Yeah, and so you don't. There's no void there anymore. It's healed. It's and the relationship with your parents and it can be what it is meant to be. Now that might be the same as what it was, or it might be a little bit better, or whatever. But I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think my dad has been a little surprised by how like I love him, and I'm so grateful for him, and there's a deep appreciation there. But I'm neutral towards him, if and that's what it's like meant to be, you know. So
what do you mean? Like he expects you to hold something?
He wants me to. He thought like
he's guilty.
Like the assumption was like, oh, that was like really affected him, or yeah, but
it's like, no, dude, I'm good.
Literally felt nothing, and so I love you. Like, don't worry about it. And anyways, it's
that's
just kind
a
of
powerful realization, though. It's like, you can't hurt me anymore.
Right.
I've literally like thought that to myself.
Yeah, and it's not, like I said, Dad, if you're ever going to listen to this, it's like you're like, it was all meant to go the way it was meant to go. But it's like, yeah, you know, I think, yeah. And some people will mistake that as like apathy. Like, oh, he just doesn't, you know, she doesn't care. He doesn't care. And it's like, what you learn is this important, once you heal from your parents, you learn more about like what I call like emotional matching. So if one of my family members or someone is only able to put in 60%, I'm going to want to put in like 65. I'm down to put in a little bit more. It's healthy for us to put in a little bit more. But if someone's only able to put in 60, I'm not going to put in 100. It just doesn't make sense. That's part of the attachment issues that people have, is like, people are really into like attachment styles. Like, am I avoidant attachment? Am I anxious attachment? It's like, it's gotten so much buzz the last 10 years, and all that stuff is valid. But I think what they maybe don't realize, it's connected to this parent wound that we've been talking about. And it's not permanent. That actually will mostly go away when you heal that wound. And so you won't have that attachment style anymore. You know, you won't be as sensitive to, you know, you'll be more compassionate, more forgiving, all the things that we want to be in our relationship.
that makes a lot of sense. Does it also work like forgive and forget? Like you can't forget, but you can relieve yourself of the pain through forgiveness, right? So like once you do that, there won't be any like previous pain to go after.
It's like it never happened.
Exactly. That's why it's like
It's
when
like
you
this
come into the
never
situation, the pain from that won't be the first thing you feel. Sorry for clicking in the mic, but it won't be like
Yeah,
the first.
What the?
Sorry.
That's my job.
You know what I mean, though?
Like, did he just click in the mic?
There won't be anything like you're bringing into it, so they can't. I don't know how to describe that.
No, dude, it's just such a you're describing it pretty well. It's just such a beautiful thing when you put it like that. And people are like, well, it won't ever really go away. And it's like, okay, maybe there's some truth there, but if it's just a thought that's coming back of like some traumatic event and it's only a thought, okay, you just let that thought go through and that's all you have to do. It's when it's difficult is when it's a thought plus the pain combines, and then it affects how you act and how you feel and like your self-worth. And so that's why, like, you know, you truly let go of the emotional impact. And it's like, you might think about it in the shower every once in a while, and it might, and that's where I think we talked about this last time, but that's where it's true, where like time, you do need some time to heal to some degree of the memory, and that will just be replaced with new memories and other experiences and whatever, and then it'll not be a thing anymore. So the brain has this natural inclination to think about like the past year and the next year, the past 3 years and the next 3 years, you know, so it's on this like kind of rotator continuum. And so so
just doing like check-ins.
I don't know what the time is. I think there actually probably is some science of like, you know, I don't know, but that's just maybe an example of like, so you just, if it's just thoughts, like thoughts don't mean anything. I think that's like, emotions always mean something. Thoughts rarely mean anything. And the only thoughts that actually mean something valuable is when you are still and when you are intentional at trying to find something. That's when thoughts can mean something. Every other thought,
take it with a grain of salt.
It means it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. That's really cool to think that.
When I'm intentional, like, okay, so let's say after this podcast, I need to be intentional. My wife's going to have a baby soon. Okay, I got to spend 10 minutes and think about how I can help best prepare. How can I help her? You know, today's Wednesday. How can I help her tomorrow? And like, that's good. Those thoughts are good. Those are important. But I'm creating those, or they're coming from a good place. Maybe a good way to kind of put it is there's only 2 states our mind can be in: drift or intentional. When it's drifting, it's like opening the sliding door to a bunch of crap, all negativity, Satan, if you're religious, Satan, you know, total access. And so it's wild, and it's wild in that state. Like, we're like, why am I thinking of a pineapple?
Yeah. People like call it like ADHD brain nowadays. Like your mind's just all over the place. And it's like, I don't think you get to like label it like that. I think you're just having a lot of crazy thoughts and things.
I was talking to somebody about this today. He was setting up a new appointment to come in and see me. And the cultural belief is that if you are depressed or you struggle with anxiety, it's because there's a chemical imbalance going on in your brain. And so you need medication to treat that chemical imbalance. That's the cultural narrative. And the truth is like, anytime we're depressed or anytime we feel anxious, of course, there's a chemical imbalance. But no, so every time that, like, if I'm feeling even a little anxiety now, there's going to be a chemical imbalance going on. But the problem is like in our culture, no one ever, I think it's getting better, but no one really talks about what the main root cause of a chemical imbalance is. And so the number one main root cause of a chemical imbalance is emotions, unresolved negative emotions from current life, stress, and past. This is energy being stored in our body, and the energy has to go somewhere. So where's it going? It's affecting our body physically, but it's going to our brain a lot. And then it's affecting how the brain is chemically functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with taking medication if you're struggling with depression or anxiety. But if you want it to be effective, you got to work on the main root cause, which is emotions. So
yeah, that's kind of just like blanketing with medication, unless you're doing something to douse the flames or something underneath.
100%.
My wife says that you're a lot like her dad, disposition wise. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I think one of the things is
disposition.
Sweet.
You can,
yeah. Go ahead, Dane.
Disposition.
one of my favorite songs.
Dane could play that whole song with his lips. Instruments and every.
All right, right after this podcast, we're going to have a special.
Yeah. What were we saying though, Dane?
Sorry, let me chew my Korean barbecue nuggets.
Okay, never mind. We'll just, me and Ernest will just.
On to the next thing.
No, I don't know. She often says that like you remind her of her dad a lot. And I think,
that's not a good thing.
well, you don't know her dad.
I'm just kidding. Uh-oh.
Bozo. No, I want to know what that means just as much.
Ask her for me, and then we can talk, and then we can report back.
I just feel like, but there's like an ease of, I don't know. There's like an ease of, like your burden is like light. I don't know how to put that into words, but
yeah, I feel very blessed for sure.
No, but that's probably
it's
because
more
of the work you've done too.
Honestly, I don't really view it that way. I view it more as like the things that have been given to me from other people.
Yeah.
Like, it's like if somebody gives you enough gifts, like imagine people just constantly dropping by your house, giving you gifts. And then someone comes in your house and they're like, oh my goodness, like you've got so many beautiful things in your house. You've worked really hard to acquire all these beautiful things. It's like, thank you. I've moved some stuff around, but people have just given me these things. And so when I have stuff that happens like anyone does, it's just like I have just so much to draw from.
I think it's like it's like there's people that have a feeling that there's just like this constant deficit in their life.
Right.
And then there's people that feel like, and I don't know, is it just like this natural glass half full versus half empty, or, you know?
Well, for me, it was so much. I think for most people, when they feel that deeply, it's very emotional, and it's like very rooted in their upbringing. Because like I definitely, when I was growing up, I definitely felt like I was so pissed off and angry, and like I constantly felt like I was constantly feeling like everything was unfair, and like my glass was half empty, and it was more than half empty for sure. Nothing was working out. I wasn't getting anything from anyone. And so I think something hit. I remember I woke up. So excuse me. I was 18 and my mom left out of town, and I threw a party with my friends at the house. And when I wasn't supposed to have any friends over and whatever. So she finds out, and then she kicks me out. And I'm like, no, I was still 17, I think. I can't remember. But anyways, I'm a senior in high school, And I have this estranged relationship with my mom where we both hate each other. At least I hated her. She probably still loved me. But nowhere to live. And so I'm living with friends. And then I finally find a room to rent through my whole senior year with some Chinese guy.
Heck yeah.
Just me and this Chinese guy. And he was cool. But I remember being so lost and so unhappy. And so, like you said, Dane, like such a deficit was there. And it wasn't even like it was my perception. It was like, it was a very real reality. Like, you are empty.
Yeah.
I woke up one morning and I just felt this deep emptiness, which I view as a total gift. Kind of like what I was telling Ernest the other day, Dane, that, you know, that I'm telling you is that it was like the lifestyle I was living, I should not have had any light in me. Like I was living a very dark and like messed up and like dangerous and like horrible lifestyle. Like it was not good.
Like substance abuse, that kind of stuff.
Just partying, how I was treating other people, just like it was dark in almost every way. There was zero light. And so this experience of me waking up and feeling like having this, like, it really was like this ray of light, like awareness, like you are empty. You need to change. You need a change. And specifically, it was like, you need to move to Utah in with your dad. And that was a part of me, or God, obviously, that was like that there was a light in me. There was a part of me that was like protected. And it emerged in that moment. It was a gift. I didn't deserve it. It was just a part of me that was preserved, a light in me that was preserved. And then moved to Utah, started like, wasn't even that. I just started trying, like I knew I was dark. I knew there was this darkness in me and I was empty. And I just started trying to put myself in positions where there was like goodness or light. And so, you know, went to church, just started associating with like different people. And then it just like, wow, the contrast of like darkness and light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can ever go back to this. Once you start tasting or feeling some of the light, it's like the goodness of people,
like the fruit of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, there was almost no fruit, honestly. Nothing was redeemable in my life still. Until I started, until I made an intentional decision to start. For me, it was an intentional decision to start focusing more on other people than myself. And I probably did that in unhealthy ways. I probably needed to, but these people I was focusing more on, they really cared about me, and then they were investing back into me. So it was just like a good community. Like I think you were talking about that in your story. So really, the community that I had really started to change my life, and trying to do good for others and people doing good for me. And it was just like,
You took
beautiful,
it and ran with it.
Totally changed my life.
Yeah.
And I was still so broken. I still had all these wounds and deeper things, but the light was growing, even though, and that's really the first phase of change, is you have to start finding some light to even be able to see the cave, see the darkness.
Yeah.
So there's this beautiful quote. Dane, go ahead while I pull this up.
I think one of the more fascinating conversations would be where's the point of no return, of not being able to recognize the difference between like the darkness and the light, or just not recognizing that was light, because you had to recognize that there was something there that was different or that was good, that you were being drawn to, that pulled you out of your current like situation of darkness. So what is the makeup of someone that recognizes that? that goodness that pulls them out versus somebody who's like, maybe it's just like there's like receptors that are just damaged. You know what I mean?
It's so much less of a brain thing for people. Like, I know that gets so much of a focus, and I don't want to discount
Sure.
neuroscience completely.
I'm not making any assumptions.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of spitballing off what you're saying.
Sure.
But, Ernest, it seems like you had kind of a thought on that.
I don't know if there's a makeup of things or if it's the same things happen for this to happen. Like the same prerequisites have to be there. And I think that humility is one. You get put
100%.
into a very low place to realize you're in a low place. And you'll keep getting beat down until you have some level of humility to be able to look at things honestly. I don't know, like, if there's more to that equation, but I know that my story is really similar to yours, which is super interesting, at the same ages too. And and I was in a pretty low place. So I knew I had nothing, and I knew I didn't know what to do about it. And that kind of, like, every day for a couple weeks feeling like that, you start just seeking out things. And I don't know.
Well, it's like you know it's dark in a room when somebody turns the light on. You're like, oh my gosh, I can see the
I didn't know I couldn't see anything.
vase. I can see this like Led Zeppelin poster on the wall. I can see, whoa.
But you just said that you woke up with that.
Almost. I woke up and I had this moment where I was like almost forced. I don't know, forced. But I remember waking up. So it was after I threw like a party at this, it was Warped Tour 2000 and I don't know.
Heck yeah.
It's 2000 whenever. I don't even remember. 2004, I think, Warped Tour 2004. And
Blink-182 was there for sure.
And I remember in like my house, I threw like an after party. This is what it was. I threw like an after party and my house got trashed. And so I wake up in the morning and my house is trashed. I'm just looking at all this damage in the house. And it just like hit me like, what are you? It didn't come from me. It was just like this, kind of like what I said, like this ray of light of like, you're empty and you need to change. And it was God for me. But my experience is just for me and everyone, I think what is the common factor is like, it doesn't even necessarily have to, it does have to start with a slight amount of like humility. Like, everyone has inherent good built into who they are. And it can be something somebody says like, dude, like, I'm a little worried about you. Like, you don't seem very happy. Or someone dating a girl and her, and he hurts her and then he feels horrible. And there's so many, there's no set thing of what is going to happen for someone. It is a moment of awareness. And then what do you do with that? And,
so it's like less that there are prerequisites and more that there's a lot of things that can make that kind of a thing happen.
Totally. Yeah. But you hit the nail. There has to be some willingness to be a student and to try to listen.
Yeah, right? Like, at some point you have to be like, is this the right way to be doing this?
And what is kind of different about mine and your story is you had more of a natural humility in who you were already, and I didn't. It's like I had to be forced to be humble. I had to be damaged. I had to damage other people. I had to see my house. It's like the damaged house. I think, looking back, I honestly think this is like it was like the damaged house is almost like a symbol of my own soul. And like, I think maybe I thought something like that, and then boom, this kind of thought entered in.
Man.
So you were compelled to be.
I was, yeah. And we always, so just the importance of trying to listen you know?
Mm-hmm.
But everyone cares about something. And so if what you care about is getting negatively affected or it just isn't working out, can you ask the question, like, what role am I playing in this? Like, what role am I playing? And then that can be a beautiful opening to this path that you go down.
Mm-hmm.
But this quote that Kimberly sent me, like, was really powerful. It was, so I'm a tree / obsessed with trees. And it says, no tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. So this is like a symbol of after this ray of light comes, or this opening happens I believe it happens for everyone, and whether they do something with that or not, I think it's going to happen 100 times for people until they actually do something. The reason why does somebody not do something with that? Well, it's because the path to move forward is like reaching down to hell. It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I have to move. I have to face my pain. I have to like change. I have to do things differently. It's like, oh, it's so much work. I don't even know what that's going to, there's so much fear and doubt, and it's hard. It's hell. It's like hell. But we can't grow to heaven unless we
Have the roots.
reach down there. Yep.
That makes so much sense, though. I love that. Is that like a poem or just a quote?
My boy, Carl Jung.
Good old Carl.
So, dude, I want to talk a little bit more about compassion just for a second.
Okay.
And just one little thing about it that I just think is so cool. So it reminds me of this story of Christ. So again, if you believe in Christ, great. If you don't, view it as a symbol or a story. So Christ was teaching at the temple, and then this woman was brought before him and thrown on the ground. And the men that brought her said, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. And according to the law of Moses, such should be stoned. And they asked Jesus, like, what do you say about this? According to the law of Moses, like, we're supposed to stone her. She was just caught sleeping with another man. And Christ has this, in the story, he has this gift to be able to sense exactly what she's feeling. She's on the ground. There's a bunch of men all around her. She's just caught cheating on her husband. And all these men want to kill her. And Christ is looking at her. And he doesn't respond to the men that say, what do you say? But he's like observing her. And he can tell that she feels this deep guilt. And she feels horrible about what has happened. And she's scared. And he knows all of this without even talking to her. And then he says this powerful line, who is without mistakes, or whoever is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And they all look at each other and say, well, none of us are without mistakes or sin. So everyone leaves, right? And then he says, where are those then accusers? And she says, there's no one there. And then he says, I don't condemn you either. I don't know the exact words, but this pure moment of compassion for her. And then he says, just don't do this. Go and sin no more. Don't do this anymore. It's always been one of my favorite stories because it highlights kind of what we were talking about compassion, and about how if we want to be more compassionate, if we want to care more about other people, how do we do that? the way that we do that is we see someone else's pain, or at least we try to see their pain. The reason why Christ in this story was able to have perfect compassion is because he perfectly saw what she was feeling. And so that's a big part of what compassion is. And so what's cool about your story and what you were saying is that I've let go, I've cleared out a lot of my own stuff. And what's replaced that is compassion. And so I'm actually, because my own stuff is cleared out, I'm actually able to see more clearly other people's pain. I can see it. They don't even have to really tell me, although sometimes they might. But you can just see it, and they feel that. And this is a gift you have, by the way, this gift of compassion and understanding. And I don't think there's it's one of the most beautiful gifts. So it's something that if it doesn't come naturally for us, like obviously, like we got to work on our own stuff and clear out, like we got to clear out some of our own pain and really look at what's coming up for us emotionally and address that. But then we also need to like put some effort in trying, in being intentional about trying to understand what other people are feeling. Not intellectually. It's not compassion is not an intellectual thing. It is I'm still with you. I am present when I'm with you. I'm really wanting to know what you're feeling and understand it.
How much does understanding play a part with compassion?
Oh, I think it's everything.
It has to be, right?
It's everything.
Because some people, it's like, hey, put yourself in their shoes. And then they put themselves in that person's shoes, but through their lens of who they are. And it's like, oh, well, that's easy then. Like I could have done that. And it's like, but there's no understanding of their situation, what their weaknesses are, or what their hurts are, or why their story would make that difficult for them to accomplish. Like, I feel like that's so missed in compassion, is knowing who you're dealing with.
I'm not trying to put more than needs to be put on this, on the whole emotional thing, but it's like the biggest part of that is this unresolved emotion for that person that's really struggling with being compassionate. They're just viewing this other person through their own lens of their own pain, actually. And so they're not seeing things for the way that they actually are. They're seeing things for the way that they are. I am this way. This is how I do things. And so you need to be more like me.
I get it.
And
okay,
that's like the great root of like all divisiveness in communities is like, you need to be more like me. I've got it. I've got it all figured out.
And they're like, oh, don't listen to him. You should do what we're doing over here. This is the way.
And again, this is another Christian teaching of like, taking the mote or the beam out of your own eye, taking the crap out of your own eye, and then you will be able to see clearly to see what it is in someone else's eye. We should never try to clear out what's in someone else's eyes when our eyes are closed or when we have stuff in our own eyes.
You might see the wrong things.
We're poking at their forehead and we're like, dude, your eyes are rock solid. Like, you need to figure that out.
Some messed up eyes, dude.
So I just think that the communities that we live in at large, the way that the world is going is apathy and coldness and not understanding and not compassion. And it's like, how do I cultivate more compassion? If you really want to make a difference in the political spectrum or in the community spectrum, compassion is the answer. And so try to deal with your own emotions better so that you can clear some of that out and see.
Yep.
And then if you're not clearing that out, then just try to make an effort to understand what other people are feeling.
Yeah. That is a cool point. And I love that story so much.
It's my favorite. It's really powerful. Just how much he protected her because he knew what she was feeling.
Such a big bro move.
It's very cool.
I just wanted to point out like the last thing he says though. He says, go and sin no more, which was like, he wasn't necessarily condoning
or agreeing with it
or agreeing.
Yeah, he's not like
It
what you
was-
did was
It was like you said, it was an objective, or not objective. It was it was like understanding where she was coming from. I mean, if there's anyone that is highly, highly perceptive, it's him, right?
Yeah.
And he walked into that situation perceiving so much about her.
That's such a cool point. And the reason why he was able to say that and she was able to be receptive to it is because there was compassion first.
Right.
So the order of like, we have, if like kind of that cliche saying, like, nobody's going to care what you know until they know that you care. Such a cliche saying. It's very true. Like, we have to understand in our relationships, we have to truly put our own thoughts and feelings on the side and just first understand our partner. And then when they feel understood, guess what? They're going to really appreciate that. Remember, like, the one thing we all needed and haven't received is like being seen and understood. So we give that to someone, even though we're upset, then it's okay to,
Magic happens.
Exactly. It's okay to expect that back. It's like, hey, look, like, can you try to do that back for me? I think that's a totally fair. So that is more of like the, okay, now we can ask for that and we're not being a hypocrite.
Mm-mm.
And so that's a cool insight, Dane. Thank you.
Yeah, that's weird.
There's something else that was really cool about your story today that I wanted to touch on, which is like purpose and like a vision, finding vision. Most people are feeling totally lost with this, which is why psychedelics have really gained so much traction and reemerged and spirituality in general. So I want to just kind of paint a little bit of a picture that I thought of that when you were, after we were done talking, which is like, okay, imagine that you want to find out what your purpose is, but you're in this hole that's 20 feet deep. And all you can see is the sun in this deep hole. And you might have a couple friends that pop over in the hole. They're like, dude, it's so awesome up here. Like, we're playing soccer, throwing the Frisbee, like cruise on up. We want to like hang with you. But like, you're in this hole. This is symbolic of where honestly most people are at. They're to some degree in this hole. They're not able to see, even if they wanted to know what their deeper purpose was or their higher purpose, they're not going to be able to. They have to first dig themselves out of the hole or climb out of the hole, and then they can see clearly to find out what their higher purpose is. So
what does my hole represent?
So the hole is symbolic of current negative emotions that are coming up for you in your life. And it is symbolic of like the deeper work. So to get more relatable with it though, the hole is like something that you notice that you don't like you're depressed. That's the hole. You are noticing some unhealthy tendencies in your relationship. That's the hole. And you can't seem to control, or addiction. It's anything that is negatively affecting your life in the current state.
Those could all be part of the whole.
It could be anything, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it's so important to figure that out first before you try to figure out this like higher purpose. So I kind of really break it down as like, I call it like your grounding purpose. Your short-term purpose is you got to get out of the hole. That's like step one. And then once you're out, then you can really have the clarity, like you were talking about, the clarity. For you, you're in like a foot hole only. It's very small.
I just can't get my eyes over.
It's so tiny.
I'm so close.
It's just this last little bit. And I think my message with this is that like everyone, I see so many people constantly trying to take the shortcut. like, oh, like this hole is 20 feet deep. Like, I just want to get a glimpse of like outside. And I think to some degree we can, but then like, psychedelics is a good example. There's people that have had a lot of good experiences with psychedelics. And I do believe that you can see things from that, at least from what people have said. I haven't had a lot of personal experience with it. So maybe you get this glimpse, right? But then you're out of it and you're right back in the hole. So you still have to do the work to get out of this hole, to have more fulfillment and more clarity with what your purpose is.
Sounds like it could make you more sad if you're not careful.
100%.
If you just pop back over and think, oh, wow, that grass was greener. Too bad I'm stuck down here. Like, that would be not fun, I feel like, but maybe it would be like enlightening.
Yeah. Imagine one of your friends comes to you and is like, hey man, like I'm super depressed. I need help. Like, can you give me some pointers? And you start talking about how, like they're going to get married someday and have a beautiful family, and how they need to like, ask their boss for a raise. And they're like, that's just, it's not going to land. Like,
yeah,
it's like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Those aren't things that's not what I need right now. I need to get out of this hole. So the hole might be 20 feet or 50 feet or 5 feet. If there's any hole, it's like, and kind of like we were talking about for you, it's so important to address it and before we seek this higher purpose, this clarity of what my purpose is. So nobody wants to do that. It's the way to go for sure.
Yeah. I know what at least a few of the things that are making up my hole is. And I don't know if I have much to like comment on it. It's just like reflection as you're speaking. Like those things are just pink, pink, like pink. Like they're like things that, yeah, just like get to work. Here's some answers. Because I've honestly just been like, it's like a mix of being like so wrapped up in trying to plan ahead that I can't stop and look inside and be like, and look at it for more than a few minutes. And then have to be like, okay, but I got to keep these plates spinning because life is still going. And it's just balancing that and seeing the importance of making that time to look at both equally or whatever. I just, I get wrapped up in my own head sometimes and just get like worried. Like I overanalyze everything. For some reason, I just have to analyze things. Like I think way too much about jobs. I don't know why. It's like, it's so overwhelming to think about. There's so many different options and there's so many variables, and they could all be good options, or they could be bad ones. And I don't know, should you be like over analyzing like a job and be like, is this going to make me happy? Or is there a point where you're just like, you know what? I just need to do it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's hard because, going back to what we were chatting about earlier, you're experiencing some of the symptoms of still being in the hole to some degree.
So it's too hard to see.
It's pretty much like sadness, or if, for anyone listening, and like any like stress or other things, like take care of that first. And if there's deeper stuff, like be patient with yourself. Like, I'm not meant to know what my grand purpose is yet, but I'm on the right track if I'm digging myself out of this hole. And the hole, like we talked about, is symbolic of any negative emotion that we're not listening to or looking at. So the good news is you don't have to be like, this might sound like a tall order. It's like, you don't have to be perfect with it. There's like grace built into this. With my own story, it's like, I didn't feel like I was really more emotionally whole until I was, it's always a process. But kind of, I didn't feel like the heavy rocks were completely out of my backpack until I was like 28, 29, 30. Then I got married when I was 32. So it's like, and there's still these little pebbles, that I'm so, but you're going to be able to get the glimpses that you need along the way. So as you're digging out of the hole, maybe to go off this analogy even more, sometimes we don't even know how deep the hole is.
Mm-hmm.
All we can, like, we don't know how long it's going to take. And that is naturally going to cause sadness along the healing path.
Yeah.
And so the importance of, like what we talked about, listening to sadness, that this is your body or God trying to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what's outside the hole so that you are motivated to keep going.
Yeah.
That's probably a better way to view it for you, is like, you're good. You just need a little bit more juice. And, you listen to the sadness, and then you'll get this little bit of a boost. You'll feel it.
Yeah.
And then you'll naturally use that to find more clarity with your purpose. And
it's a patience game. You just got to do it one step at a time.
But it starts off as like, okay, what am I not liking in my life right now? And I need to start getting help, or I need to start looking at, okay, what am I feeling? And then looking at the emotional guide and like, what does that actually mean that I need? And then, just chipping away at it. And then it doesn't take that long if you're really able to focus, so.
Just got to address the right things, think about the right stuff.
Yeah. Okay. What do I do when I get out of the hole? Okay. So how do I actually then find this higher purpose? So it starts with a question, and then it is fulfilled through seeking that through something greater than yourself, nature, God, whatever feels comfortable to you. But the important thing is you're intentional. You have a sincere question. You have something that means something to you. It's not just an intellectual thing. It's like, this is deeply meaningful to you, and you're putting yourself in a position to seek. And it kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier. So it really is that simple when we're out of the hole. Like
it's just 2 steps and then listen.
But people get so frustrated with it because like kind of like what you were saying, it's like, why? I've asked that so many times. Why is it not happening? Well, it's like, okay, am I out of that? Am I out of that hole? Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, what with that, you said like it has to have deep meaning to you. What does that mean? Like,
just has to feel important, and it can't be intellectualized. It has to, like, this feels like a necessity. I always admire these people that, and I've engaged with this to some degree, like, this question is so important to me. I'm going to go into the woods, or I'm going to stay in my room, and I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do everything that I need to do. And I'm just not going to leave this spot until I get something. It's like that amount of effort mixed with like a sincere. Now that only works if the question is actually like the right one.
Yeah.
But nature or God honors that, that offering, that sacrifice.
Yeah. After all you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's wrap up with maybe a bonus question.
Bonus time.
So, okay, last thought actually.
Okay.
Last thought is this. What to give you like this is what I was to the listener, what is your purpose? Your purpose generally is your higher purpose, once you get out of the hole, is to use your gifts and talents to have a meaningful impact on other people. Period. That is everyone's purpose. Whether you want that to be or not, sorry.
You should probably use them.
Is.
Yeah.
This is not the only thing, but the main thing that we take with us in our life. And after we die, whatever you believe there, but we can't take money. We can't take any position. We take our relationships, we take our knowledge, and we take this feeling of impacting others and how people have impacted us, the love, basically. Let's finish off with a bonus question. So why is it that I've had a difficult time feeling self-worth or feeling confident in my life? And what can I do?
What's your first interaction with worth that sticks with you when you're small? Or I guess like who?
Like when we're growing up? Well, so like one of my specialties is adoption. So
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my clients the other day who's as a parent of his son that's adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me a powerful question. He said, I don't understand why this kid is struggling so much. We adopted him like right when he was a baby. And we've been very loving and nurturing to him since.
Mm-hmm.
And so this wound, this emotional wound that can affect our self-worth throughout our entire life if we don't heal from it, can start even before we're born. But in this example, right when we're born, can you imagine this baby is physically, spiritually, and emotionally connected to this mom, their birth mom. Mm-hmm. And then their biological mom is taken away. Even a little baby, especially a baby, is wounded deeply by that loss.
Yeah.
And undealt with emotion never dies. So that's the earliest it can start.
Yeah, holy cow.
And even before that, it can start in the womb.
So sometimes it's stuff that you didn't do anything to have issues.
100%. That is most people's story. It's like people are constantly focusing on like, I don't get it. I don't know why I'm feeling self-worth. I'm like working out every day.
Mm-hmm.
I have this hot girlfriend. I have this making $250,000 a year. Everything, like I should be feeling so happy, or I should be feeling so much worth. Why am I not?
Mm-hmm.
Self-worth isn't just connected to what is external, and it isn't just connected to what I think about myself. It's connected to how I feel. Mm-hmm. And the number one thing that affects how we feel that we carry into adulthood is how we've been impacted emotionally, specifically by our parents.
When it mattered most,
That's not the only place it can come from, but that's the main reason why I don't understand why I'm struggling with feeling worth. Mm-hmm. It's like, and I think what's hard for people is they have such a hard time being honest. Me and you both love our parents like deeply. Yeah. But we can be honest about the negative impact that they've had on us. And it's like, some people are like, oh, like, no, I love my mom or I love my dad. I can't say anything negatively about them. It's like, you're not saying anything negative about them in private. Mm-mm. It's like, you're just being honest. How are you? And so there's many other barriers that people go through, but that is one that people are so resistant to. I'm like, we're not. It's like, what's the truth?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be willing to look at it and. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
So is there, if someone were wondering whether or not it was apparent reason why they have the lack of self-worth or love or whatever for themselves, like if it does come from the parents, is there any way to heal that without parents being involved?
I don't even think that somebody should even be thinking about that if they relate with what we're talking about. Like, that's the last thing you want to be thinking about. You just focus on the pain and getting to a place in your life where you can feel that and start to let go of that and start to learn more and reflect a little bit on it. That seems to just get in the way for people if they're, It's like, I don't like with clients I work with where it becomes obvious that their mom or dad has affected them as we're talking. It's like, I only swoop in with that after they've like felt what they've needed to, and they've like recognized the gifts that have come from this pain.
Very end of that process.
And so they're like, so it's almost like, okay, like I'm good now, right? It's like, well, there's one more step. Mm-hmm. And they're so much more open to the idea of talking to their parents because there's no pain there first.
Yeah.
And they are grateful. The what's replaced the pain that has come from mom is this gratitude of like, I'll just share this example with my own mom, how when I was growing up, I knew exactly what it felt like to feel misunderstood and to not feel loved. I knew exactly what that felt like from my mom. And that burned a fire in me to not have anyone else feel that way from me. And so I'm not that great at that. But when I want to click into that, it is a gift that I have that has directly come from my mom. So it's like, you can't know what gifts come from this pain until you feel the pain first. Then the fog clears. Then you're able to see with new eyes. You're able to answer the question, what gifts have come from this emotional disconnect from my parent?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last step is like most likely actually like talking to them in a loving way and being honest.
But focus on the first steps first.
When people focus on that, it just becomes an intellectualizing.
Yeah, and all the
roadblock,
emotions and stuff
and
are
then it's
still
like,
there, and
yeah.
it's just arguments. That's crazy.
Go ahead, Dane.
Does the prerequisite then come or become approaching that conversation from a place of neutrality?
Exactly.
Or does the neutrality come only after?
The neutrality can only really come, I wouldn't say only, but mostly can only come after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not even neutrality. It's making sure it's coming from a place of like gratitude and love, because I really love my mom so much deeper when I started to recognize that, wow, like some of my greatest gifts have come directly from how harsh and unloving she was. Like it's a direct, I wouldn't have a third of the amount of understanding and compassion that I have and care that I have for people if I wasn't completely burned by her. Like totally, what's that saying? Our parents mess us up exactly the way that we need.
Or life.
Yeah.
Life kind of messes us up.
Now, if someone is like, dude, I don't know, I like my parents were great. We talked about this a little bit, but just maybe a refresher. If you just ask yourself the question, how often do I remember my mom or my dad having conversations like this with me, or not having, but how often do I remember my mom or my dad when I was struggling emotionally? How often do I remember going to them? And it was like a compassion, and it was like a cool experience. If the answer is like, that didn't really happen that much, or that didn't happen at all, it's like, I promise there's a wound there.
That doesn't make anything good.
It doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter if they were capable or if my dad was like, his job took him overseas, like, so like he couldn't, I mean, that's fine. It doesn't matter the reason. We're not saying it's bad.
It just is what it is.
You're saying it's bad.
What it is. Yeah.
It's not bad. We're just being honest that there's a void or pain that came from that.
Yeah. It's just an observation.
And if you want to have more self-worth or more true internal worth, like just look at it and let's start feeling it out. And, so sometimes I trick people. Sometimes I manipulate people.
Oh, everybody listen to that.
Basically, my job is a professional manipulator. I have to be really careful. I'm a Scorpio, so that makes sense. Emotional manipulation runs deep in my
too easy
stinger. My choppers, whatever. What are those called?
Claws?
Claws. So all of a sudden, I randomly turn into a lobster. Yeah. So dumb. I try to act like this is where it's manipulative in a good way, hopefully. But it's like I act really neutral about like, let's explore this. Like, what could it actually be? Because we know if you're struggling with, even if you believe you're a good person, but you just don't feel like you are on a regular basis or randomly, if you just don't feel like you are, then what that means is there's some pain down there that is not resolved yet. It's bubbling up randomly, or it's getting triggered or whatever. So there's some pain down there. And then I asked the question, like, man, so client, like, what do you think, any ideas on like what pain could still be down there? And most people are like, I don't know. Or people focus on events, like, which is fine. Like, well, I broke up with this girl, or I lost my job 2 times in 3 months, and that was really hard. Or even something maybe big, or my kid died. Okay, all that can be valid, and that can be very real, and that can add on to the weight, right? I'm not discounting any events or loss. But what can be a little manipulative in a good way is to ask yourself, like, what relationship did you need worth from? What relationship did you need love or worth or approval from, and you just didn't get it? It's manipulative because the only answer is either mom or dad.
Some parent figure.
Yep.
It's not manipulative.
It always kind of goes back. That's what we call the great root. Those other things, there can be pain from that, and we might need to look at that and work through. You might need to look at that and work through that. And the same process of like feeling and reflection and action, it applies. It's just a little different than with parents, but yeah. So if you feel like if you've lost a son or daughter, or lost someone, or ex-girl, or just losses and divorce, and those things can be really painful, it's good to look at those first, like feel those out and go through that. And then, but that's not necessarily going to fix your self-worth. It will make things lighter and easier. There's deeper lessons there for sure. But guess what? A lot of the deeper lessons from other losses, and they will be arrows pointing to
the root of the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. The
deeper lesson from losing my, best friend in a car crash is, man, there's still some pain down there that's deeper that I need to look at. And then, and then I look at that and maybe it's deeper. It really can't get as deep. I don't want to say this for sure, but the deepest place it can basically get is the love that I needed that I didn't get. It just affects us so deep. And this is where our worth comes from. It comes from a deep place. It's deep within us. So the roots of a tree having to grow down deep. What is real? What's really deep down there? It's the parent wound. If you're struggling with worth and you can't figure it out, that's often what it is. That's maybe the longest answer we've ever given on.
But it's such a good, it's such a necessary one too, though. Like everyone, probably most people are struggling with that and don't even know it.
So I really like the way that Dane, we were talking about it, Dane, before the podcast, because it's like, don't, like, we're talking about deeper stuff here. Don't try to start off with the deep stuff. Just start off with the snorkeling before you scuba dive.
Yep.
Work on some of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Notice the beautiful tropical fish, whatever. But try to improve. Clean your room. Try to improve some little things that are
low-hanging fruit type thing.
Yeah. Try to manage some of your thoughts. Try to listen to some of, try to figure out how to be a little less. All these can affect self-worth, but it's just, so try to do this more of the surface stuff. Try to challenge some of the negative thoughts that are saying you're not a good father because you're not making enough money. You're not a good husband or wife because you say rude things. That was really rude what you said. You're like, what's wrong with you? Like some of these, the shame, let's start having a better perspective of who I really am. And Dan, you were talking about that exercise of like writing down some of the negative beliefs that I have about myself. And then like, wait a second, what's the truth? That's a pretty harsh statement that I'm not a good father because I only make $80,000 a year instead of $150 or whatever. That's a stupid example, but there's more. Like really starting to look at that is really a good place to start.
Do you have any suggestions for like someone who's trying to figure out like sometimes the truth is hard to find?
The emotional indicators of a false belief are anxiety and shame. Anxiety is our body telling us that the way that I'm viewing something is false.
Mm-hmm.
Shame is our body telling us that the way I'm viewing myself is false. So trying to be more aware of when you feel anxiety and when you feel shame, and trying to start to view that as, oh, this is my body telling me that I have to be holding on to a belief that's false if I'm experiencing that.
Right. Something's not in line.
And people have a hard time with that because they easily discount that truth. And I get it. So to be more specific, it's like with anxiety as an example, there's 3 different types of anxiety. So it can get a little complicated. There's live danger anxiety. There is anxiety that comes from thoughts. And then anxiety can come up as a trigger, signaling that there's some past pain that I haven't dealt with. Okay. So am I in live danger? No. I'm sitting in my room and I'm feeling anxious. Okay, check. So it's not that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this anxiety coming up really strongly out of nowhere? No, not really. It's more coming from, I just started thinking about things and then boom, I feel anxious. It's like, okay, cool. So it's anxiety that's coming from thoughts, which means I'm holding on to lies. There's no other place that can come from. Period.
It's the lie
Those are
generator.
the only 3.
Yeah.
With shame, it's a little bit more simple. There's like only thoughts are triggers with shame. So with only 2 types, but
that's really helpful because I've had someone ask me about that and I was like, I don't know. That's really good. But yeah, thank you.
What's interesting is I had this one client that came in that had some like this is common with, like, so my wife's about to have a baby, so I was thinking about this, of like postpartum anxiety. What's interesting is hormonal imbalances cannot cause anxiety. Why? Well, in our emotional makeup, in who we are, like for most of us, there's stored emotion, past anxiety, past pain, whatever. And then we have this buffer. If we didn't have this buffer, we'd be experiencing all of our past emotional history all the time and we would die. So this buffer is really important. Now, what happens when we have hormonal imbalances is that buffer is removed. And so simply put, whatever is already there is starting to come out more freely. So hormone imbalances or physical problems can't actually cause negative emotions, but they can remove the barrier.
Uncover it.
Which, the blanket can be taken off and it's like, oh, there's a pee stain in the bed. That's what.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's maybe more simply put. There's a lot more that we could talk about with that if we wanted to, but so I promise that unless you're in live danger and unless you have a serious trigger coming up, that your anxiety is a false belief. So it's the turning point for people is like, wow, I'm feeling anxious and I'm not in live danger and I'm I'm good and this isn't a trigger. Oh, it must mean. So it's like, it's so relieving for people because put this into perspective, how anxiety feels is it feels like something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah. Like there might be actually a bear in the room. Totally. Kill you. Yeah.
But if I'm observing it, right. Okay. No bear. Okay, cool. But if I'm observing it, I'm like, okay, like all this means, this is just my body telling me that I'm viewing myself falsely. And all this shame means is that all this shame means I'm just viewing something incorrect. So that is like usually the starting point. So even if you don't have good self-worth, that is the best starting point, is look at some of these smaller, more difficult emotions. Please, Dane.
Does social anxiety have to do with our false perception of just people in general, including ourselves? Or is it like usually directed? Do you deal with that at all?
100%. Yep. All the time.
Because I naturally,
All the time.
Naturally, I have it, but it's been buried, or I've learned to deal with it just because of, you know, societal circumstances, my family, they're being very social people just around me my whole life, whether that's friends or relatives.
Right. Dane, we should talk more about this next time.
I
man.
know.
Well, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it now, but like, wow, these are awesome questions. Dane, we're going to have you. Dane's our tech guy, by the way. And
which
Dane,
is exactly why I asked the question.
Somehow, if we can set up this room where I can see your face, where me and Ernest can see your face and talk, and I think we should do a session with you next time.
We'll have to just do
if you're open.
One camera if we could do that.
We'll do a little sesh next time. But okay. So the root. So to answer your question, yes. There can be thoughts or about ourselves or thoughts about other people like, oh, like my hair's messy and I look like a gorilla and they're going to think I'm weird. And then we can feel anxiety from that. Yeah. That's more of the surface social anxiety, which happens. But I think what really affects people the most is like this deeper social anxiety. So if you think about it, okay, what's the worst case scenario play out the worst case scenario. Someone has social anxiety. What is the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that could happen?
Awkward conversation.
And then, okay, I have this awkward conversation, and then what?
And then they think I'm a weirdo.
Yeah, everyone stops and looks at you and points at you, and you're a weirdo.
It's like, what did they just say? Or like, do, or whatever. Yeah.
So the worst case scenario is rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah,
is maybe a generalized word to put.
Because it's like it's then an attack on you.
Yep,
it feels that way.
100%.
Yeah.
So now, okay. So worst case scenario in social anxiety is rejection from a girl or from whoever. This happens all the time in dating. It's the social anxiety. So if it's not just thoughts and it's connected to something deeper, then what it means is there's already a emotional bruise or insecurity down there from something in the past. And so what your body's telling you is like, hey, don't experience rejection from this person. This is what because if you do, not only are you going to feel embarrassed in that life situation, but it's going to hit on this bruise and you're going to experience a double whammy.
It's going to be way worse.
And the anxiety isn't wrong in that case. If all that plays out, then you will be highly anxious and it'll suck.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, this anxiety, in this case, the word we're describing, this anxiety that's strong. So in this case, it's double. You might have anxiety about the scenario, which is more thought-based that you need to challenge. But the deeper root of it is it's a trigger. So the anxiety is then telling you like you have some unresolved pain that's down there that you still need to look at and resolve. And once that pain goes away, and you're able to have the right perspective about the situation, then the social anxiety completely goes away. I feel very confident in who I am. And I still at times will have some stress maybe or social anxiety in interactions. And what's nice is I know that I've gotten to a point where I know that there's nothing deeper there. So it's just a thought thing. Mm-hmm. And that's, if I'm aware of that, that's an easy fix.
Yeah. I feel like I've come to that place more and more just as a byproduct of years and experience and inserting myself in situations that I don't want to be in.
Well, so what's kind of cool, what you've done is, just going off of that, is you have exposure therapied yourself.
Yeah.
So even though the anxiety is there,
right,
I wouldn't say to some degree you've ignored it, but you've just pushed through it and you've done those social situations anyways. And then it's like told your body, you basically have proven to the anxiety that like, hey, like
these thoughts are not
it's fine.
New story, like new narrative, right? You like rewrite it through exposure.
Right.
That's cool.
So now that's cool, but if it was coming from a deeper place, that bruise is still there, and it's going to manifest in other areas of your life, and it'll just switch to something else. So we see this all the time with addiction. Like, Corey, can you help me do exposure therapy because I'm addicted to, I don't know, maybe addiction isn't a good word, but I'm afraid of spiders or something. So not an addiction.
Phobias, you mean?
Phobias, yeah. So, I bring in this glass spider, and they touch it, and they like sleep with it, and they like cuddle with it, and whatever.
You're searching for proof that it's not a threat.
They're not afraid of spiders anymore, but if this is coming from a bruise, a deeper bruise, it's just going to show up in other ways in their life that actually is probably more significant than being afraid of spiders.
You could run the risk of it being more impactful in another area.
Like, I'm afraid of sex, and now I can't have sex with my wife anymore.
Just shuts you down.
Yeah. Whatever.
Driving or whatever, you just can't do it anymore.
So I'm not anti-exposure therapy, but it's an old school. It's not it's fine. So to some degree it's necessary, but it's not the gentle or natural way to listen to your body, because anxiety is information, and you want to listen to that information so that you can heal it naturally. You either want to listen to it's saying false thought or false belief, or you want to listen to it saying like, look, dude, there's still a little bit down there that you need to look at. So I don't do exposure therapy mostly for that reason, but like I said, to some degree it's necessary. Like, if someone's in a current relationship and they're experiencing social anxiety, the answer isn't like, dude, you got to just break up with them or leave your wife to figure out your stuff. It's like, some people can't do that. And it's not right to do that. They have to just they do have to expose themselves to some degree because that's what the current situation calls for. So that's when it's important. But if you don't have to expose yourself to things to live a somewhat good lifestyle right now, then don't do that, and just look at the anxiety for what it is. And that's you'll make way quicker progress in the long run.
If you have benefited from this podcast in any way, it would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, to allow us to keep it going and bring on inspirational human beings.